So this group of fellas walks in. One guy looks much older than everybody else, and he's loud. And as it turns out, my friend Keith knows this guy. And he's like, "Oh, John," and he hugs him, and I can't place the guy. And they're kibitzing for a little while, and Keith makes his way to the bathroom. He exits for a little while, and this guy is sitting right next to me. "Oh, it's I'm John, I'm Dave," and then I play. So, "Oh, you're Stuttering John. I just registered who you are." I think what threw me is I'm not familiar enough with his work. He lost the stutter completely at the obviously because he didn't have it this night.
It was a inconvenient stutter that would come up with nerves. I think when Howard would start berating him, it would come out.
I see. So either way, he's talking about this and that, and he's doing that thing where he is ostensibly being gracious in talking to the guy who's not in his group, but he's doing it loudly, so it's sort of like a show to show what a good guy he is. "So, Dave, what you watching there?" Because I'm staring, just sort of absent-mindedly at the screen. What are you doing? What are you looking at up there, Dave? Hey, Dave, so what are you doing? That kind of thing.
Yeah, how dare he be polite?
It was like I say, it didn't feel polite so much as sort of putting on a show kind of thing. But whatever, maybe that's my own.
Don't forget, you were probably loaded at the time. So as always, you're ready for a fight.
Either way, so I say, "Oh, you're Stuttering John. Yeah, I'm a fan of yours. Whatever." And so we're yapping, and he asks what I do, and I tell him I'm working on the Kimmel Show. And this guy goes into a jag about what a creep Kimmel is. Kimmel's a terrible guy. How dare this Jimmy Kimmel do what he did to Jay Leno? Because Stuttering John is now a writer. You may not know that. He was the announcer for a little while, I guess.
For the Tonight Show.
On the Tonight Show. Yeah. Now that the Tonight Show is back on, he's, I guess, a staff writer, but he's not the announcer anymore. So now he's still defending Jay Leno. Jay Leno is obviously the superior talent. Why would Kimmel, this nobody, get involved in this sort of thing? And I say, and in case you're not familiar, Kimmel went on Jay Leno's 10 o'clock show, and Leno, I guess the producers had sort of wanted to ask him, meaningless sort of questions. What's your favorite vegetable and things like that? And instead, Kimmel went into him. He had a few great digs, and Leno, I guess.
You know why he did that?
Why?
Because that's the name of the game. Continue.
Very nice. So, but that's exactly right. That is the name of the game for one comedian to take shots at somebody else. That's what you're supposed to do. You go back and forth. But Jay Leno, wounded, he goes on Oprah the next day and says that he was blindsided or something to that effect. I said, where does that come from? He said, Jay considers Jimmy a friend, and he didn't expect to see that happen, and he was really hurt by that. And he said, it's just, there's no defense for that. And I said, listen, John, I don't know you, but isn't the defense that they were two comedians? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Aren't they supposed to rib one another? No, not when you're friends. You don't do that to people. You don't ambush people like that. You don't attack people like that. And I said, listen, again, I don't know you, man, but isn't this the all-time pot calling the kettle black? Ambushing people with stuff that they didn't expect? And he said, oh, that was different. People knew I was going to do that. I said, they knew you were going to do that. Then why didn't you say I'm from the Howard Stern Show, I'm Stuttering John? You always hid yourself with I'm from CBS Radio. People didn't know who you were. That was different. That was my persona. This was out of the blue, and how dare Jimmy do this? And this is he should take a page from David Letterman is what he should do. I said, take a page from Letterman. Letterman ravaged him. I mean he savaged him for weeks on end, Leno. What Letterman did was far worse than what Kimmel did to him. And he said, no. I mean, since they did the Doritos commercial. I said, well, that's really, you want to line up a Doritos commercial, I'm sure all parties will attend for that one. But what are you talking about? And his friends at some point were laughing at him as being sort of silly for making this whole thing. And by the way, you're not his announcer any longer. I guess, you moved him out from New York so you feel responsible to employ him, so you're a staff writer. But fighting tooth and nail for the honor of the delicate flower, Jay Leno, was really unbelievable in a bar on a Friday night.
Stop it, because I don't see what the big deal is. I'm sorry to say this, but all I hear is like two drunk staff writers defending their bosses. What's the big deal?
Wow.
You did the same thing, except he was trying to be polite at first.
Polite.
If he told this story, you would seem more like the jerk.
Who jumps in? I don't know this guy. He's jumps in.
Jerk.
He jump. No. No. That doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for you.
I want that solo blaster at my command sometimes.
Well, listen, there are a lot of things that we
How
want.
did you end it? How did you end it with Melendez?
Well, he ended up. We ended up with a handshake. No, listen. Tried to be polite. He started in with me. I wouldn't bring up to him. So what happened? Why aren't you the announcer? I would never ask
You
something like that.
knew he was on the Leno show. You knew you write for Kimmel because you name dropped that with everything. You would think that, of course, he would have some sort of point of view on that. He asked me
what I did for a living. What, I should say this?
Why not?
This is for pleasure. This is purely for pleasure.
Top 5 podcast. Maybe you heard of it. Maybe he would have said, "Hey, you know what? Call that Feeney up here too."
So you see nothing.
Not at all.
Come on, Jacuzzi Pete. That was a little bit out of bounds for him to just launch into this attack of my employer.
It seems a little uber loyal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Guy was just trying to be polite. I'll tell you the best. Can I tell you the best thing Melendez ever did on Howard Stern when he did, obviously with the microphones? He stormed into a Magic Johnson press conference, and this is like in 92, 93, at the height of the poor guy suffering with HIV. He goes, "Hey, Magic, one quick question, WXRK Radio. Have you gone shopping for coffins yet?" And Magic's face just dropped, and he walked away, and it was the saddest thing ever. But as far as the ballsiest, gutsiest, meanest thing you could possibly say to someone, that would be it. Can you imagine? He had a genius to him. For that, I'm in his corner, not yours.
So be it, but that would be another fine guest for us, Jacuzzi Pete.
Melendez?
After this, you think he's going to want to come on?
What do you mean after this? It would be entertaining to talk to him about it.
From what I read about Melendez, he's an Ira Glass of This American Life fan, and it ends at that as far as podcast. He doesn't like anything else other than that.